Alrighty, what is up everybody? So in this video we're going to talk about how you can create these NFTs. And yes, I am on the Pudgy Penguins page because this is a good example of what I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can create. Now, later on we're going to talk about how you can actually get these onto a marketplace like Rarible, OpenSea, or Atomic Hub, depending on what network you want to use. But right out of the gate, let's talk about what you're going to need to do to start with, right? So what is Pudgy Penguins? So Pudgy Penguins is an NFT that is randomly generated through lines of code, and then it uses another code through ERC 721 contracts and Solidity programming. I know that sounds extremely complicated. I am not a coder or programmer in the slightest bit, so that should give you a bit of ease if you know nothing about coding. If you do know coding, if you know JavaScript and Solidity, Python, that's extremely going to work to your benefit. But if you don't know any of that, this video is definitely for you. So right off the bat, Pudgy Penguins is compiled of essentially the same thing you are going to need, which is varying layers, right? So here we have backgrounds, say backgrounds 1 through 10 being the color in the background, yellow, blue, purple, red, and so on and so forth, right? So those are layers. The next layer you have is the actual penguin itself, which you can see is the same penguin design throughout all. Okay, and then you have other layers such as headgear. You have clothing such as the bow tie or sweaters, a kimono or a t-shirt, and then you have eyewear, right? Eyewear shows either glasses or a different eye expression like that. And then you have facial wear as well. So all of these are just different layers that have been compiled by code. Now these were generally hand-drawn on a program like Photoshop or a paint program, and then put into code where they're generated, right? So the first thing you need to do is think of your concept, and then inside of your concept you need to think of the many different layers that you're going to need before we actually get into generating them. You're going to need your layers. So number one, think of your concept. Number two, think of all the different layers that are going to go into that concept. Alright, so real quick, what you're looking at right here, and I'm sorry, I know it's dark in the background, but what you really need to see is on the screen. So if you don't have Photoshop or you don't want to pay for any program, you can use something called My Paint. Just Google My Paint download. You can get it on any system that you're running, and it's a completely free program that you can create your layers. As you can see, we have a spear right here, and this is just something that I'm working on for my own NFT collection, which, if you're subscribed to the channel and you're following, I'm going to actually be dropping some of my NFTs to subscribers for free right on launch date, right? So you have to work out things such as, do you want to drop 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 NFTs? It really doesn't matter how many you want to drop, because once you get these layers going, I can pop another one on here like a headdress. Once you get these layers going, it's really easy to compile them. Now we are going to be using code to do that, but I'll tell you exactly everything you need, and I promise I didn't know coding at all. This is going to be very easy for you to adapt to, but I just wanted to throw that out there when you're making your layers. A free program like MyPaint, which is super simple, super straightforward, will accomplish everything you need it to do. Okay, so because we are going to be using some programming, we are going to be writing a little bit of code, or modifying code if you will. The code that I'm going to show you, I've actually messed with a bit, but we're actually going to grab something off of GitHub. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But the first thing you do need is Node.js. Okay, so Node.js is going to allow you to access this code, so you can go and navigate to Node.js and download that for the system that you are running on. Alrighty, so now that you have that, again I apologize, I know it's dark in the background for my actual camera here. You're going to go to the link that is in the description below. Now this code was wrote by someone named Hashlips, and if you want to actually code along and write this entire code side by side with Hashlips like I did, you can do that. You can search on YouTube for Hashlips NFT generator, and you can code along with him. If you don't want to write any of the code yourself, the link is in the description. All you're going to do is this right here is going to be the base code, right? This is your Boilermaker code, and you're going to go to code, and you're going to download zip. Now once you download the zip, just extract it. You can use something for free, either a WinZip free trial, or you can get pzip, P-E-A-Z-I-P, pzip. That is what I use for everything. It's completely free. There's no trial expiration, and you can extract that file anywhere on your computer, and then we're actually going to open this file inside of Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, that we just downloaded. So let's go ahead and hop over to that. Okay, so here we are inside of Visual Studio Code. This is what you're going to see when you first open it. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to actually grab the file. So we're going to go to File, Open Folder, and then wherever you had it stored, for me it is in Windows, Users, Acon, and I'm going to go down here. You can see I have a bunch, and we are looking for generative art node main, which is what it's going to basically save itself under. So we're going to select folder, and that is going to open this code inside of Visual Studio. So let me go ahead and minimize some of those. Now I know this looks really complicated, but what we're going to do, if this is your first time opening it, we are going to go Terminal, New Terminal, and that's going to open this window down here on the bottom that you see. Now there's a couple things that we have to do. Okay, the first one is we have to, if you're doing this for the very first time, which I'm assuming you are going to need to do npm install. Okay, and what that is going to do is basically take Node.js, and it's going to install it so you can utilize it in your coding, right? Once you do that, it's going to take about 30 to 60 seconds to actually fully load into your system, but once you have it, and anytime in the future you want to do any coding, you will just do npm init or npm initiate, and that's basically going to give you this folder over here called node modules. Now that's a bunch of stuff that you really don't need to know. If you just do npm install, you are good. You don't need to worry about that node modules. Okay, the next thing we need is something called truffle. Now when we're making a file, we have to actually compile this file so we can then save it, right? So the code for that is going to be npm install truffle-g, right? So once you've done npm install, you then want to do npm install truffle-g, and then you run that, and you are good to go. You then have Node.js and you have Truffle. Now if you are someone that is, you know what you're doing with coding, you can also use Brownie or Hardhat to do the same thing. I know that's foreign to many of you, but for this we're going to use Truffle. Alright, so we have all of our dependencies installed to our terminal. Now it's time to actually get down to the nitty-gritty of it. So as you can see, I am making tikis over here on input. Input is going to be where we store our layers. Now anytime you want to upload something to those layers, if you go, and let me actually see if I can show you this. Let's go window capture, and it is not going to let me look at my file explorer. So the file under generative art node main that you had, let me put this back here. So basically this folder that we opened, generative art node, you can see the main thing right here, generative art node. That folder, wherever you saved it on your computer, if you open that folder and then open the input folder, you can then start creating your layers. So what you're seeing on the left side here in input is a folder inside of this main generative art node main, and inside of the input folders we have all of these different folders where we have our backgrounds. Alright, so if I load, let's see, there we go. If I load these, you'll see all of the different backgrounds that I have, so on and so forth. You can see the different headpieces that I have created, and all of these were created inside of my Paint, right? So once you have all of your layers created, you have this Code Studio downloaded, you're basically just going to go into your folders and add these different layers into your folder. Now, a lot of this code that you see on here, you're already going to have because we essentially just cloned that GitHub folder from Hashlips, right? So what I'm going to do here is actually show you what you need to go in and change in order to generate these images. And let me show you real quick. If I go down here and I type node index.js, right, so what I'm doing right now is I am telling my node to run this index.js file that you see on the left side. Okay, and once I run that, let's go ahead and run it. Now I have it set to create 10 unique additions. Okay, so what these additions are going to go into output, and I'm not going to click on them just because I don't want anyone to steal my ideas before I have fully minted them, but you can see that it created 10 unique images. Now I can set that number to 500, 5,000, or 10,000, and it will pump or dump all of these new generated images based on all of these layers we have provided this code. It will then create these new images for us. And like I said, we can do this up to 10,000 times. We can do it 100,000 times, but eventually it's going to start making duplicates, right? And that's not what we want. We want 10,000 unique images. Okay, so we have everything set up now. Theoretically on your side you should have this open, you should have all of your layers, and now we get to the fun part. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our config.js file that is inside of this input. Okay, so we're going to go config.js and it will open this, and yours should look exactly like this. Now real quick, I do want to cover this right here. Now all this is saying is if you want to make rarities like original, rare, super rare, you are going to save your file at the end with _SR for super rare. So what does that look like? So you can see this says tiki top4.png. If I wanted this to be super rare, I would name this tiki top4 _SR.png. Now you can feel free to mess around in this. You can change this to anything that you want. I could even copy this line, paste another one, paste it as many times as I want with different rarities, and it's just going to kick out those rarities as long as I am saving my file with the corresponding key. So if the key on this image has nothing, it's an original. If this was tiki top4 _R, that would be a rare attribute or a rare layer. If I did it with _SR, it would then be super rare, or really anything you want to plug in. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to this right here where you see const layers equals. Now this is going to be the bulk of everything, and all you're wanting to do is name. This line right here, name, should correspond to the input file. So you'll see I have this name is background, this name is Tiki Base, this name is Tiki Eyes, and this is basically how you want your NFT or your image to be layered. So I want the background to come first, then I want the base or the body, then the eyes, then the lips, and then the nose. Okay, so you want to make sure that your name corresponds to the file that it's going to be grabbing it, because when the code runs and it comes across this line, it's going to say, okay, where am I grabbing this layer from, and what layer am I grabbing? Okay, well, I'm grabbing Tiki Base from the Tiki Base file. You also want to make sure that location. So this over here, this whole thing is your directory. So the location that it is grabbing this image from is in your directory, and it's in the file named Tiki Base. Okay, so if you were doing CryptoPunks or Pudgy Penguins, this would be Penguin Base, Penguin Base, Penguin Base. So you want to make sure that your name, location, and elements all say the same thing. Capitalization matters. Okay, so it has to be the same thing. You want to make sure that your position is 0 and your x is 0, your x-axis and your y-axis are both set to 0, and I should cover that when you're creating your layers. You need to do them 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. Okay, and I can't stress that enough, or your layers are going to be off. You want them to be set 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. Now, as many layers as you want, all you have to do is basically copy this entire section, change the ID to +1. So as you can see, I have 7 different layers, and each layer is going to have 10 to 15 unique assets inside of it. Okay, so again, you don't need any coding knowledge. We're just modifying a code that Hashlips has so graciously put out for everyone. Now, everything in here I coded alongside of him, but it will look the same on your screen other than these elements. So when you first get this, this is going to be like Hashlips base, Hashlips color, Hashlips. You know, you're just going to modify this and change it to what you need it. You can delete them. If you ever want to pause one, you just highlight it and hit Control KC. And what that does is that basically comments out that line of code. So this code is going to run, but now it's going to run without layer 7. Okay, alternatively, you can Control KU and bring it right back into the mix. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is index.js. Now, basically, this right here, let me look through. This is going to be, this is going to be ready to go for you. There's only one thing that you need to change in this entire index.js file, and that is right here. Edition equals my args, length 0, number. This right here is how many editions you want to print. So if I just want to print one edition, let me save that change. If I run node index.js, it will create one edition. If I change it to 5, and I run node index.js, it will then create 5. And every time this runs, I want you to kind of picture what this is doing. Whenever I do node index.js, it is telling index.js to run. Now, when index.js runs, it is running off of the config.js file, which gives us layers, width, and height. Okay, it is also loading the images that we have for creating our canvas. Okay, so config.js, index.js, the only thing you need to change is this right here to how many you want to print. Config.js, you just need to tell it what layers go where and do what. And you just need to upload the input files that you want to use to layer your NFT. And there you go. You should have as many unique NFTs as you want. Now, when it comes to uploading these to OpenSea, I spent in 1 week 65 hours attempting to learn Solidity coding, ERC-721 contracts, and basically blockchain development, and I failed miserably. I ran into so many errors. I literally spent 65 hours in 1 week hitting a brick wall and not getting anywhere. So if you're good with coding and programming, you can create an ERC-721 contract, you can do your Solidity coding, and get it right onto OpenSea, but you will have to pay a gas fee. The other way, which is the route I'm probably going to go, is you can use something called a macro scheduler. Literally, it's called macro scheduler, and you can set that up to basically drag an image, fill out the files based on an Excel sheet that you have, and that will just one by one upload these images for you to OpenSea or wherever you want. Way number 3, of course, is the old-fashioned way. Go to OpenSea or go wherever you want to mint and create each NFT one by one by one. However, if you're wanting to create 10,000 NFTs, the current going rate on Fiverr is about $2,500, so this video right here should save you that $2,500 with a few simple steps. If this did help, hit that thumbs up button, hit a subscribe button. I love you all, and I'll see you on the next video.